If you're an Amazon seller doing $1 million a year in sales, you have a lot on your plate, a lot of repetitive tasks, ones that you could teach to someone, but who do you teach them to? In this video, I'll walk you through my playbook on exactly how I hire from the Philippines in under 2 weeks. I've used this playbook to hire for my own team as well as now for our Amazon seller clients. Up front, I want to be transparent with you. The purpose of this video is to provide you value. I want you to see the attention to detail required to find a great VA, not a mediocre one. My hope is that you'll see the skill required to find someone great and hire us to do it for you. Let's jump right in. So to start, who is this for? One, you're someone who's running your Amazon store alone and you need someone to delegate the task to, but hiring locally is out of the question. You can use this playbook to find your first hire from the Philippines. Or second, if you already have a team from the Philippines and you want to find more great people without luck playing a factor, you can follow this playbook to have the best chance of finding someone great. A bit about me, I started my online retail journey in 2017, selling Yeezys, sneakers, doing botting of Jordans and the such, and then transitioned to Amazon fully in 2020. And then in 2021, I made my first hire from the Philippines. But that one didn't last long, so then I set out to figure out what makes a good hire from the Philippines. Spent over $100,000 on contractors, taken 300 plus interviews and literally tens of thousands of applications. And use those skills to build my own core team, but also to help our Amazon seller clients find great talent from the Philippines. So to start, what does this whole process look like? So initially we write the job posting, which is not as easy as it sounds. Then finding people to actually apply for the job posting, what applying looks like, the application, our first vetting process, which is the mock scenario test, the initial interview where we actually get to meet the candidate, and follow-up interview, and then finally an offer letter. So to start, we'll do with drafting the job posting. Now, if you go to any job platform right now, they all look the same. Every job posting has the same corporate speak, and they don't stand out. But when I make a job posting, I want to make them feel like they want to apply to the company, not just for the role. So it's like, making it more than just another application that they're checking off on their list, but writing it in a way where it like inspires them to want to actually apply to it. I think that makes people want to apply to it initially, but then also down the funnel makes it more, they're more committed to it because of their excitement from the first interaction, their first impression that they saw of us, which was the job posting. I think it's just like any other sales process. You have to sell people on the idea of working for your company. So the usual sections I include are must-haves, which is like fluent in English, currently based in the Philippines, that kind of stuff I include on every posting usually. Nice-to-haves, which is things that I think would help them for the specific role, maybe like a foundational knowledge, or if I'm hiring for experience, that would be in the must-haves, but the nice-to-haves would be like certain understandings of software, that kind of thing. Character traits, I try to go above just the normal hardworking things that I think would actually help them work well with our team. So for mine, I usually put that they have to have a good sense of humor, because we're a team that does a lot of that. So that's something I would include on character traits. Responsibilities, this is where you can get specific for what you're looking to bring them on for. I tend to avoid hiring for general roles, like a general virtual assistant. I'm hiring for a specific problem. And I started off very narrow because then it makes their scope really easy to understand and easy to scout for. Down the line, as they start to learn more about our company, I will build on more responsibilities, but I start the responsibilities as like a foundational knowledge of what they're going to be, what their main task is as a new hire of ours. Application process, so basically just what the photo above to make sure that they know what to expect next. Compensation, I never leave the salary range out. I always am upfront with the salary range. This can be expressed monthly or hourly rate. I usually choose monthly because then it shows that we're looking for someone full-time, not just a part-time hourly role. And I always write it in USD because one, that provides us predictability, but two, the local Filipino currency experiences a lot of inflation. So by paying them in USD, I know they have a stronger currency that it's pegged to. So after some writing, you have a solid job posting, and now we have to get people to actually apply to it. So there's a couple ways I go about this. First is going to be communities and groups. So I have a couple Facebook and LinkedIn groups mentioned here. These work especially well if you have a presence in the community already, from like providing free value or if you're active on socials. And then also we have a VA Discord community that we post in personally to find candidates. LinkedIn Network, doing outreach through my connections on LinkedIn, as well as through secondary connections, mutual connections to find someone to fit the role. Upwork, which is not my favorite platform for a couple reasons, but one of them being the fee structure. Onlinejobs.ph, another good one. You'll get a lot of applicants, usually pretty unqualified though. Indeed, you've probably heard of that before. And then my favorite is the Facebook ad campaign. So this takes a while to get set up with the creatives and the ad sets and the targeting and that sort of thing. But once you get it running, you get a very cheap cost per application. And I've found some pretty good candidates off of that. Now, what does applying actually look like, the application? So I use this survey platform called Video Ask. Basically, it just walks them through our different questions and allows them to upload different files. So I have them do their resume, English test, speed test, experience level, employment status. But then the real kicker is the last part. It is our video portion. So currently, the two questions I have are, what is something you are proud of, not included on your resume? And what is the most challenging feedback you've received, and what did you learn from it? I like this video section because most people will fall off here. It's like 50% of people get there and just don't even bother to do the video portions, which is a good natural filter because I want someone who's actually willing to put in that work, and if they can't even do the video section, I don't want them on my team. This is also a great way to see how they're actually going to perform in an interview. So it's like a pre-interview for us. But I look at everything. I'm looking at how they're speaking, their body language, and especially the kind of words that they're using, because a lot of people will just ask ChatGPT and you'll notice similar responses from person to person because they just ask ChatGPT how to answer the question. So there's an automatic filter out. And the pre-interviews take a lot of time to go through. We do it every day, but it'd be way less time than if I hopped on an interview with every person that applied. Then we have the mock scenario test, the mock test. This is a Google form and includes a couple free response questions as well as multiple choice questions. Some of them are, your team is having a bad week, how would you bring up the people around you? And there's a leadership course, but it's on the weekend, would you go? More of just getting an idea of their attitude and character, their attitude towards work. And a lot of them will use ChatGPT. It's, again, pretty obvious to tell, so it's an easy filter out. Now, I don't make these tests very long, probably takes 10 to 20 minutes. I'm not trying to get them to spend their whole day on it, and it's an unpaid test, so I don't want them spending a lot of time anyway. But if they've made it past this step, then I'm ready to hop on an interview with them. I don't use Calendly, I just send them a Google Calendar to schedule a time that works best for them. And then now we're at the initial interview, so a time to actually meet the candidate for the first time, face-to-face. But I try to make my interviews far from the corporate interview you might be familiar with. I'm trying to, if I've done my job right, it should sound like a conversation. Just me talking to them, getting to know them better is the purpose of the initial interview. It also allows them to open up when you're just trying to conversate with them and not trying to interview them. Some of my favorite questions are, what is a time someone showed good leadership to you? And what is a moment you're not proud of in your career? My usual setup is starting with who are we, a brief intro, like what to expect for today's interview, and then diving into their background. So how they see their resume as it progressed over time. A lot of people will leave stuff off of their resume, I've found, because they don't find it relevant to the job. But in reality, those are the ones that I dive in and want to hear more about, because it might be a perspective they could bring unique to our team. Then I talk through some other questions that test their character, and then long-term vision, what they see for themselves in the future, and then finally, questions for me. I rarely ask a question without having a follow-up related to their answer. I'm actually thinking of what to say next, not just following a step-by-step checklist. I'll jump around from questions. Sometimes I'll skip over questions if I want to spend more time on this area. The point is to try to learn about who they are as a person, so it's not like a typical interview. All right, now the follow-up interview might seem unnecessary since we've made it this far, but the amount of follow-up interviews I've had where I ended up not hiring the person made me happy that I took them. This one is good if you have another member of your team, so we have our team captain with me always on these follow-up interviews. Mock scenarios are another good one here, putting them in situations they might find themselves in on your team. And then for once, I do some talking and give them a whole rundown of what the role would look like for them. So the first week, the first month, the first 90 days, that sort of thing. And I always give them some skeletons in our closet, the things that are going to be the worst parts about the job. I like to get these out of the way so that it's not a shock when they come up, and basically if they're still on board after I explain all those things, then I know that they're going to be someone serious about it. All right, now that we've made it through the whole process, let's send an offer letter. I draft up a brief one, use a template, and I also send over an NDA and a non-compete just to provide us some protection. Start date as soon as possible, and then the usuals like compensation, benefits, when I expect them to work, and a deadline for when I want them to respond by. Congratulations, if you made it this far, you've made your first hire from the Philippines. Now you're all done with the recruiting process. Now you have to actually go and lead the person to success, because everyone needs a coach, so it's time for you to go be that. If this recruiting process sounds like a lot, it's because it is, but it can be really worth it if you do it right to find someone great for your team, not just a mediocre VA, as I mentioned before. Fortunately, we can do it for you. We've done the same for many of our other Amazon seller clients just like you. So if this sounds interesting to you, drop your info below and we'll chat. Otherwise, I hope this video is valuable to you, and thank you for watching to the end.